And hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another insightful episode of Property Focus. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at some of the market insights and finding out what the challenges are when you're developing here in Kenya. We've got Ngigi, seasoned practitioner in the real estate sector, who's going to take us through that. Before that, welcome to the show. My name is Peter Ngigi. Now, right here with me, we have Ngigi from KPDA. Welcome to Property Focus.
Thank you very much,
Briefly
Peter.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, people know me as Ngigi, but my name is Gikonyo Gitonga. The V initial is silent. I am a real estate practitioner or been in the industry for more than 35 years. I graduate of BA Land Economics from the University of Nairobi and an MSc in Urban Development Planning from University College of London. Yeah. So basically, I've been running my own private practice for the last 25 years. I'm the founder and managing director of Axis Real Estate Limited. Other positions that I've held, I have been the chair of the Land and Physical Planning Sector Board at KEPSA. I'm the former director at KPDA, but I'm still a member of the Public Policy and Advocacy Committee and the Membership Committee at KPDA. And I am the chairman for the organizing committee for the upcoming conference, KPDA annual conference that takes place on the 12th of September at the Serena Hotel. And all of you are welcome. You just need to visit our KPDA website and register for a very exciting conference, which will be talking mainly about urbanization and what are the challenges that urbanization brings to us and how we need to tackle these challenges and how that is related to property development.
What are some of the regulatory hurdles that developers usually face when starting projects?
You see, there are a myriad of regulatory authorities that you have to go to when you want to do a development. So you first of all, you have to make sure that you've got your architect, you've got your planner. The planners they're regulated by a body. Then you have got to get planning permission. So if you wanted to do a development, maybe there was a need for a change of user, maybe there's need for a subdivision, but you start with the planner. Then of course you need to also then confirm the actual title, the boundaries of the property. So you need a land surveyor. Then after that you then get your architect, who then will prepare the drawings. You will then submit these drawings to the county government. This is now where you're meant to get the planning permission or building approvals. So the biggest challenge is that some of these approvals are actually, some of them are still manual, but some of them, at least they have gone through technology and you can be able to apply online or whatever. But when you're going to work in different counties, every different county has got a ways of how to deal with building plan approvals. So out of the 47 counties, there is no standard format. So, and building approvals need to be approved at the planning, at the county government level. Then of course you've got to get things like NEMA license, you've got to get your NEMA approval, environmental impact assessment. You then have to get, if it is near a riparian reserve, you get to water resources as approval. If you're near an airport or a civil, you need to get Kenya Civil Aviation Authority and maybe even the Kenya Airports Authority. So there are different authorities that you have to get. So it's a mishmash, and you need somebody to help you navigate. All I just recommend is that somebody must get a good professional team to be part of your development team. Otherwise, if you don't get a good development, you could be able to, either you've not got your approvals right, or shortcuts have been taken. You don't want to have shortcuts. So those are the quite a number of those are the things that, those are the challenges. However, the challenges also come because of sometimes some of the authorities are all acting in silos. Right. So we as members of the built environment and developers, and that's what KPDA does, is to try and bring people and to understand how to navigate and also to get involved in policy reforms and policy issues. So for the last almost 6 or 9 years, over 6 years, I've been the chairman of the Public Policy and Advocacy Committee in KPDA. And the reason and what we have been trying to do is how do we influence various policy changes, how do we influence legislation, how do we get involved in reviews of that, be part of the public participation, be part of education of the various stakeholders, and how we can be able to reduce the challenges to reduce or minimize time, because the challenge for developers is how much time you take to get approvals, and time is money. So if you take too much time, you're going to lose money along the way. So that's why we've come together as KPDA, because we then can be able to lobby for various changes in various legislations. I see. So, and then of course, I've also talked about NCA. So with NCA, we work very well, and we worked quite involved with other professionals, with the professional industry, in the development of the national building regulations, what is called the building code. And they were launched a few months ago, about a month or 2 months ago, and after it should be come into implementation within about 6 to 9 months. The building code is significant that we got there, because otherwise we have a 1968 building code. We needed to change that. It is not a perfect document, but it will help us suffice. It will help us move forward. We know that the building code does not recognize construction and project managers in the industry, and this is something that needs to be addressed. They need to also, we just need to see how does the building code cascade down to the county, and how is it implemented. The biggest challenge also within the counties, and even in Nairobi City County, is we don't have enough professionals working within those counties. Those are the people who are meant to be the checks. They're meant to supervise what you're doing. So the number of architects, the number of planners, the number of engineers in Nairobi County, and even in the counties out of Nairobi, we just don't have sufficient professionals who are involved in regulation. So you might find that the challenges is that some people who are reviewing some of your drawings or whatever might not have the requisite qualifications. But I think what we need to do is continue to partner with government and with the public sector, to ensure that we have sustainable urban development. That is going to be the focus of our conference on the 12th of September. We are talking about urbanization. There's been rapid urbanization that has taken place. Recently, there were a number of municipalities that were created. I think in the last 2 years, there are about 77 municipalities that have been created. Since the Constitution came into place, there were only 2 cities, Mombasa and Nairobi. Kisumu came on board, Nakuru, and now Eldoret has become on board. I know the other cities that have been considered. And the challenge is how do we manage these cities? Do we have the institutional framework to manage these cities? Do we have the appropriate and enabling legislations and policies and regulations to manage this? Do we have the resource and capacity of the people who can manage these cities and manage these municipalities? So at the time when I went for studying, there are very many courses that have come out. Planning now is an undergraduate degree. Now you have people who study urban management, which is becoming a very important profession in the industry. So there is a need for an expansion to be able to manage these developments, to manage the urban areas, and there is also a lot of rural to urban migration. So things like that, yeah.
Interesting. Speaking about plans and land ownership, what are the most problematic challenges when it comes to title deed ownership?
For many years, everything has been manual.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
We are moving towards Adisasa, the embracement of land information management system. It's been a long and painful journey.
Yes.
I mean, the first time the idea of land information management systems came up could have been 15 to 20 years ago. But we saw the first time when it was launched in 2020, 2021 actually, when the Adisasa was launched. I'll always remember that date. It was 27th of April, 2021. So the push to digitize and records, the push to digitalize the processes of land administration needs to be pushed.
Yes.
It all requires political goodwill. If there's political goodwill, we will get there. If countries like Rwanda, if countries like Liberia have progressed even more than Kenya, why can't we do that? It's expensive, but whatever it takes, you need to have the sanctity of title, because that is what then drives development. If somebody is not sure about the legality and sanctity of his title, the person will not develop. We need to make sure that that process is clear-cut and well. You are certain about the process. So we as private sector we've supported the government in the efforts. It's slow, budgetary constraints, acceptance that you've got to move from a manual record system to a digitized records. Because you're managing processes and you're managing people who are in charge of those processes.
True.
So how do we get them all aligned so that we can be able to work well? Yeah. So a lot of efforts was done, and I must commend Farida Karone.
Correct.
She was very focused, and she pushed it. And there was a lot of progress that was made when she was the CS. And now, even with the CS Alice Wahome, we are seeing that there is continued push to digitize.
Yes.
Now Muranga has been brought in as another pilot. So now we are 2 counties. There's Nairobi and then Muranga. And it will go on until all the 47 counties will then be digitized.
Interesting. Speaking of the CSs, how have you seen government policies affecting profitability in the real estate sector?
You see, the challenge about government policies is that some of them can last different regimes.
Yes.
But some of them, it's almost a start and stop,
okay,
as regimes change. From the time of the Uhuru presidency and now to His Excellency President Ruto, at least there's been consistency on the policy about affordable housing. So the affordable housing.
Yes.
The other thing that is still work in progress is the land policy. So the current land policy was 2009. It was meant to have been reviewed within 10 years, so by 2019. Unfortunately, we missed that bus, but there is active discussions about the reviewing of the land policy now that is currently ongoing. As a developer, as as members of the public in Kenya, we just have to be on our toes. We don't know what will be thrown at you. So if there was a tax policy, a 5-year tax policy or a 10-year tax policy, then you can be able to work with predictability. Yeah.
Correct.
And then the goodwill, because sometimes some legislation is actually passed. And after the legislation is passed, the enabling regulations to operationalize that regulations, that legislation, are not passed. Okay? The case in point is that if you're a first-time home buyer, you're supposed to be exempt from the payment of stamp duty. And this was passed in a finance bill, I think was 2022 or earlier than that. But very few people have benefited from it because the regulations of how you apply and the process and how long it will take you to get that exemption and whatever, somebody just decides, what the heck? Let me just pay the stamp duty and move on. Yes. Yeah. So there's been incentives for developers that if you develop 100 units, you get VAT exemptions. But then the process takes so long that a developer just decides, forget it. Is it 100 units in a year or you in a single development? So these are things that,
I see.
And normally, sometimes government would say they'll give certain incentives, but some other parts of are not, they don't like tax incentives, well, tax exemptions, and they are trying to move away from those tax exemptions. What is more important for developers is a creation of the ease of doing business. Certainty as a developer is important. You need to be certain of what's going to happen. You need to be certain about the processes. You need to be certain about your rights. Otherwise, if you're not, you will then be shaken down, harassed, there's corruption, all those things.
Yes.
So what are the challenges? In everything in Kenya is corruption. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A lack of clarity on some of the processes. Those are some of the things.
Interesting. So you have very well answered also. Now, in terms of taxes, obviously now this will lead to increase in construction costs as well.
Yes.
What's your take on this, and what's the impact to developers here in Kenya?
I will put it from a layman's point of view, not as from a tax person. Again, if there is predictability on the tax regime, that is what is important.
Yes.
So that the developer can be able to understand how it's done. You see, taxes, a development cycle, it goes from, well, most developments will be 2 years plus. Okay?
Yes.
2, 3 years, sometimes 4 years. Now, if your tax regime is going to change at every finance bill, it's very destabilizing. You can't plan for it. So, is there a way that some of these tax issues can be, they could be certainty.
So longer completion dates.
Yeah, because of longer the completion dates. So, if there is something that you know what your tax regime is for 3, 4, 5 years, that's what will help. Yeah. Then we can be able to do more property development and spur urbanization. Yes.
Okay, very interesting. So the buyer is definitely going to have a higher cost of purchase.
Yes.
They're going to have longer completion dates.
Yes.
Interesting. But we also want to look at the solutions to this as well. We have VG over here who's going to be telling us more, but we're going to take a short commercial break. When we're back, more with VG on the solutions KPDA is suggesting that could help just developments here in Kenya. Yes. Thank you, VG.
Thanks.
Welcome back from the commercial break. We still have VG over here, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, we're talking about some of the challenges that developers face. Now, in terms of approval, VG, how can we streamline the processes of approval?
The process has got to be digitized. Yes. Where remove human interference. Okay. So when you look at the approval processes now, I think there are very few counties that have the electronic development management approval processes, the building plans approvals. Nairobi, Kiambu had it. They pulled it down, saying they're trying to rework on it. Kajiado, I believe, there are very few. So out of the 47 counties, less than 6 actually have an electronic approval system.
Interesting.
So that means everything is manual.
Yes.
There's no certainty.
Yes.
Because if there was an approval process with timelines, then that is where we need to move to. The challenge is that the responsibility of planning approvals and development building approvals is a delegated function. It is done at a county level. So how can we get all the counties to embrace a single system, or even if they do a unified system, or to at least to have one system?
Digitization is the way to go.
Digitalization.
And speaking about digitization, how do you think it's faring on with the title deed issues and land ownership issues? Is it doing well?
It's doing well. It's doing well. There's still a bit of teething challenges, especially when the conversion from what is called long leases to sectional titles. So some properties that are meant to have been transferred into sectional titles under the Sectional Properties Act, it has taken a bit of time and an understanding and embracing. But definitely that in Kenya, land administration, we've got the hang of it.
We're getting somewhere.
We're getting somewhere.
Okay, interesting. And still speaking about digitization and innovation, what's your take on some of the products that are coming out in regards to construction processes?
This is where we are now talking about PropTech and what ConTech, which is construction technology, construction, various tech systems. Kenya is almost number 3 in Africa, 3 to 4, because, in terms of products that have been developed, we could be talking about Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, but Kenya is holding its place.
Right.
Yes. Right. So the embracing of technology, I mean, we've got a youthful population. The Gen Zs, they can be able to come up with very innovative solutions. And it's just a way of how do we embrace them and how do we direct them to be able to improve these systems.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Now, also something that you had mentioned earlier on, you talked about the zoning laws.
Yes.
What do you think can be done in terms of infrastructure to just support some of the zoning laws that have been put in place?
Okay. One of the areas we discussed during our task force is the need to create an urban development fund.
Yes.
An urban development fund that would come also from the national government, with funding from the national government, and with funding from development partners. Because when it comes to urban infrastructure, the county governments don't have enough resources to develop urban infrastructure.
Correct.
The investment required for urban infrastructure is humongous. So you need to have something at the national level that can be able to supplement what these guys are doing, to be able to provide the funding to some of these urban areas that are growing. If we got that urban fund that could be able to develop this infrastructure, there's been some World Bank programs. There's one KUSUP. We are now on KUSUP 2, which is called Kenya Urban Support Program, which is trying to build the capacity in the urban areas, the municipalities, and to get funding, grant funding or loans to the various urban areas to develop infrastructure. Because infrastructure is a big thing. And there are many things to look at: water, sewer, power, electricity, street lighting. There's a need to look at urban mobility, trying to have a robust urban mobility system, which even Nairobi doesn't have. If you go across to Tanzania, Dar has done very well on the bus rapid transport, but we are still. When you go on Thika Road, okay, the lipstick has worn off, but you can imagine there was meant to be a bus rapid transport, and how many years later we've not got anywhere. So why is that? So there's need for urgent policy commitment to be able to develop urban infrastructure and to also improve on urban mobility. Yes.
Okay, brilliant. In terms of construction costs, how do you think developers and government can just work together to just mitigate some of these constraints?
You see, I think the most important thing is to try and find alternative building solution, building technology. Look at the use of local materials. Because some of the materials that we use in construction, a lot of them could be imported. Recycling some of these building materials. The other thing is that sometimes some of the biggest costs in the construction materials is actually taxation. So we need to look at the tax regime for all this construction material and then have a policy on how to tax. We're not saying no tax, but we are saying what are the relevant taxes. Okay, so in every importation you have the railway development levy. So now you start saying, okay, so where is railway development levy going? If you're transporting your goods when you import it, you are not transporting by the railway, you're importing by transporting. So these are some of the things I'm saying, those are the ones that affect.
VG, somebody is watching and they're wondering how to engage more. They want to learn more about KPDA, some of the things that you're doing, some of the forums. What's coming up?
Visit our website, www.kpda.or.ke, and get to know about what KPDA does and how they can help you navigate the development world. KPDA is a growing business member organization, but we need more developers part of KPDA. I think the number of developers out there are in the hundreds, in the thousands. They are not all members of KPDA. It's a time where you, members of the public who are developers, and a developer is somebody who develops even 1 or 2 houses. How do you engage and learn from other seasoned developers? What are the pitfalls? What are the minefields that you need to navigate while you're trying to do a development? Collaboration, networking is important. So by being a member of KPDA, you will network with a lot of other people in the industry and meet also professionals, be it architects, engineers, construction project managers, quantity surveyors, and lawyers, because even real estate conveyancing lawyers, that's also a specialty. It's not every lawyer can be a real estate lawyer, but you will meet them there. So I always urge people, this is where to be able to meet with people. Yeah.
Time, venue, date.
Okay, the venue, the KPDA annual conference is taking place on the 12th of September from 7 o'clock in the morning, and it will be held at the Serena Hotel. So if you visit the website, you will then be able to get a link on how to register to the KPDA. Come and meet the people who are the leaders in the property development. Yeah.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Ngigi.
you.
Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Great, yeah.
Now, we've just seen some of the challenges developers are facing. If you want more, you can reach out to KPDA or keep it property focused for more insightful conversations. My name is Peter Ngigi. It's been an insightful episode. Till next week, same place, same time. Goodbye.